So tell us about like your planning and preparation for the film.
Well, in this final task we had a group chat, and this enabled us to communicate a lot more about what we were doing and what we were planning on doing for each other, and this helped us out a lot as we were able to plan before we got to the lesson. And this is in comparison to our prelim task, where we ended up losing a lot of time during our lessons which we could have been filming in, because we didn't know what we were doing. So we ended up having to take time out of our filming, and this meant that our filming couldn't be as accurate as we wanted it to be in the prelim task. How did you improve the footage quality from the preliminary task to the final task?
Okay, so basically we had a lot more footage going on really with A Dame with a Clue. As you can see here, there's a lot of deleted scenes that we had. This enabled us to pick the best ones out of all the ones we'd shot, gives us more variety of choice. Whereas with The Show Must Go On, we didn't really have enough time to sort of shoot things over and over again, and this only allowed us to go with the first scene that we shot rather than shoot it a few times to see if we got it right, because we were just so pushed for time. Whereas with A Dame with a Clue, we were so set and structured, we had time to shoot things over and over again to make sure they was right, and then we'd just pick which one looks best in comparison to the rest of it.
Did you change the camera that you used in the preliminary task?
Yes, we used my camera for the prelim task, and then we changed to a much better HD quality Sony camera for the final. Because one of our main issues in our prelim task was that every time it went from a different shot, or the lighting changed, the focus was really dodgy. It kept sort of going out of focus and then going back in, especially before and after shots. The last shot we did change the lighting when they came up on the stage, and as you can see, the focus isn't great. It just doesn't work. It's not right. But in A Dame with a Clue, we managed to use a different camera which allowed us to sort of adjust to the different lightings, and this enabled us to have much better quality videoing and footage.
Would you say that the equipment you used helped improve your footage quality?
Massively. A Dame with a Clue, we actually kind of knew how to use a tripod, and we was much more educated on it and expanded our knowledge, whereas with The Show Must Go On, because my camera wouldn't actually fit on top of the tripod, we had to use my tripod, which was about that big. So it was really hard to sort of get shots where you needed it steady, so sort of, especially with the first shot in the prelim task here, it's very, very shaky. That is because the tripod wasn't long enough to reach the tables when moving along. So
how did you adjust this in the final task?
We actually knew how to use a bigger tripod to extend out the ends so that it could reach the ground when we were shooting. And we just expanded our knowledge kind of on how to use it, so they were much more steadier.
And did this enable you to change angles that you might not have used before?
Yes, definitely.
And what about the setting?
Well, basically, setting was such a big part to play in A Dame with a Clue, because we needed to make sure that it was quiet enough for us to shoot, the people weren't disturbing. The Show Must Go On, we couldn't really consider this very well in comparison to A Dame with a Clue, because, for example, in the high angle shot, you can see it's very shaky as I'm moving the camera along. That was because I had to go upstairs, film in a busy classroom with a class going on. There was children sort of running around the place doing a practical. So it wasn't a very suitable atmosphere for me to actually shoot in, because I was being knocked and sort of disturbed whilst filming.
So you'd say that in the final task you had to be a lot more aware of where you were shooting?
Yeah, and we shot in so much more quieter locations, like a school, when on an estate, you know, not many people sort of, I wouldn't say trespassing, but kind of like, you know, accidentally becoming involved in our final production. So obviously your film is film noir, so it's in black and white. So was there any sort of effect tweaks that you used on it to make it look more professional? Or?
Yeah, we so that the lighting was consistent throughout the whole opening, we had to adjust the brightness and contrast on each of the different scenes, because obviously they're shot in different locations and it's got to be consistent. So we had to adjust the brightness on this, and this we did by moving the percentage up and down on various different shots.
Oh, okay then, yeah. Was there sort of quite a lot of lighting issues really with the prelim then compared to this, as well as effect editing and stuff?
Yeah, I think had we realised you could change the brightness and contrast in the prelim task, this would have made it a lot more clear and professional. As I found that in the prelim task there was various different lightings, particularly in the scene where the teacher leaves the classroom, where you can barely actually see the character just due to the lighting in the classroom.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, so that was edited really well. Obviously as well, time is so important when considering making a film opening. So did you say you had a lot more time on the editing this time round?
Yeah, I mean, we had a good few weeks to do it this time, whereas in the prelim we only had about a week to edit it, and I think this meant that we missed out on a lot of
Key features
that we could have done to make it more precise, whereas in the final task with A Dame with a Clue, we were able to look a lot more closely to the little tweaks that we could have done to improve it.
Making it more high quality.
Yeah, make it more high quality and therefore improve it. And this all comes with the practice on the editing and being able to cut finer and improve the whole editing.
Okay, so we said in the second question about how it wasn't very smooth, sort of, but it actually got improved. So did you use anything sort of in the editing process to make this any smoother?
Yes, we did. I mean, particularly since the prelim task, I'd say that our editing on Adobe Premiere has improved a lot as we've learned what different tools on it use. And this included the warp stabilizer, which enabled our zooms and our movement of the cameras to be a lot less jolty, particularly in this scene where it moves from the lamppost down and then zooms out. I think it enabled us to make this a lot smoother and more professional.
Yeah, okay then, great. Were they a lot more sort of, professional, and they just had a better appearance?
Yeah, especially in comparison to the prelim task, because I think in our prelim task we could have really used with some of the warp stabilizer, particularly in the high angle shot where there were disturbances happening around the camera.